The studio lights hummed like a swarm of insects trapped behind glass. Hot and relentless, Andrei leaned back in the stiff chair, arms crossed, jaw tight in that familiar way viewers had come to recognize as either stubbornness or truth trying to break through. Jenn sat beside him, legs crossed, her fingers tapping rhythmically against her knee. For once, she wasn't rolling her eyes or firing off a sarcastic remark. Tonight felt different. Not another reunion show, not another carefully edited tell-all. This time, there were no producers in their ears. Just silence, and the truth. A single red light blinked on above the camera. "We're rolling," said a quiet voice from somewhere behind the lens. Andrei exhaled slowly. "Good," he muttered. "About time." It started with a lie, or maybe not a lie exactly, more like a suggestion, a nudge, a carefully planted seed. "You guys should talk about the fight in the kitchen," a producer had once told them, smiling too wide. "It'll really bring out the tension." Jenn had laughed at the time. "What fight?" The producer tilted her head, feigning innocence. "You know, the one where Andrei felt disrespected." Andrei scoffed. "I always feel disrespected." Everyone laughed. It was harmless, or so it seemed. But later that day, when cameras were rolling and the air felt heavier, Jenn found herself snapping at Andrei over something trivial, something that barely registered now. And Andrei, already irritated from a long shoot, snapped back. Voices rose, hands gestured, a door slammed. And just like that, the fight existed. Jenn shifted in her seat, glancing at Andrei. "You remember that kitchen scene?" He smirked, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Which one?" "We had many." "The first one," she said quietly, "the one they said would really bring out the tension." Andrei leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "Yeah, I remember." He looked straight into the camera now. "That wasn't real. Not completely. They didn't write us a script, but they didn't have to. They knew exactly what buttons to push." The illusion of reality is fragile. Viewers see what's shown to them, what's framed, cut, polished, and delivered like a finished product. But behind every spontaneous argument, every tearful confession, there's a system, a machine. Jenn knew it well. "They'd pull me aside," she said, her voice steady now. "Just me, no cameras. And they'd say things like, 'Don't you feel like Andrei is taking advantage of your family?' Or 'It must be frustrating watching your sister deal with him.'" She shook her head, almost amused. "At first, I'd brush it off, but after hearing it over and over again, you start to think about it differently." Andrei let out a dry laugh. "They did same thing to me. Jenn doesn't respect you. Her family looks down on you. You need to stand up for yourself." He spread his hands. "So what happens? You go into a scene already angry, already defensive, and then they put you together. Boom." Jenn finished. Explosion. But it wasn't just the arguments. It was the edits. "The edits are where the real story gets twisted," Jenn said. "You can say 10 things in a conversation. 9 of them calm, reasonable, 1 of them emotional. Guess which one makes it to TV?" Andrei didn't wait for an answer. "The worst one." Jenn nodded. "Always." She leaned forward, her voice lowering slightly. "There was a moment, this never aired, where Andrei actually apologized to me. Genuinely. No cameras in his face, no pressure, just human to human." Andrei looked at her, surprised she brought it up. "You remember that?" he asked. "Of course I do," she said, "because it mattered, but no one ever saw it." He shook his head slowly. "That's because it didn't fit the narrative." The word hung in the air. Narrative. That's what it was always about. Not truth. Not reality. Story. "They cast roles," Andrei said bluntly, "whether they admit it or not." Jenn raised an eyebrow. "Oh, they definitely do." He ticked them off on his fingers. The villain, the victim, the troublemaker, the peacemaker. "And once you're in that role," Jenn added, "it's almost impossible to get out." She smiled bitterly. "Guess which ones we were?" Andrei smirked. "I think audience knows." There was a pause. Not awkward, just heavy. Like both of them were sifting through years of memories, trying to decide which ones were real and which ones had been shaped into something else. Jenn broke the silence. "Do you remember the family dinner where everything blew up over the business deal?" Andrei groaned. "Don't remind me. That wasn't even the real conversation," she said. He looked at her, frowning. What do you mean? She turned to the camera again. We'd already talked about that business deal, days before, off camera. It was calm, rational, boring, honestly. Andrei's eyes widened slightly. Wait, yeah, that's true. Jenn nodded. Then the producers asked us to revisit it on camera, but this time, they kept interrupting, asking leading questions, bringing up old issues. She mimicked the tone perfectly, but don't you think he's being controlling? Don't you feel like she's undermining you? Andrei shook his head, realization dawning. They were stirring the pot. Exactly, Jenn said, and by the time we sat down at that dinner, we weren't just talking about a business deal anymore. We were carrying all that extra frustration. He leaned back again, running a hand over his face, and people think we just walk around angry all the time. Jenn laughed softly. Well, sometimes we do. Yeah, he admitted, but not like that. The hardest part wasn't the arguments. It was the aftermath. You go online, Jenn said, and people think they know you. They think they've seen your worst moments, and they assume that's who you are all the time. Andrei nodded. They call you names, say you're toxic, controlling, crazy. He looked directly into the camera again, his expression more serious now. But they don't see the full picture. They don't see the hours of normal conversation, the jokes, the apologies, the growth. Jenn's voice softened. They don't see the parts that make you human. A faint hum filled the room again. The lights felt hotter now, or maybe it was just the weight of everything being said. So why speak out now? The off-camera voice asked gently. Jenn and Andrei exchanged a glance. This time, there was no tension in it. Just understanding. Jenn spoke first. Because it got to a point where the story being told wasn't just exaggerated, it was misleading. Andrei nodded. And it affects real life, our relationships, our families, even how we see ourselves. He paused, choosing his words carefully. We signed up to share our lives, not to have them rewritten. Jenn took a deep breath. I'm not saying everything you saw was fake, she said. That wouldn't be true either. The emotions were real, the reactions were real. She tapped her chest lightly, but the situations, the timing, the way things were presented? She shook her head. That's where the line gets blurry. Andrei leaned forward one last time, his voice firm. Reality TV is not reality, it's a version of reality, a crafted one. He pointed toward the camera.